no sooner did you get out of the scrape with the young lady than you took a drug bust. You describe a crack addiction, and you went into rehab and underwent a religious conversion. Now, not long after that, you said this in an interview. As a Christian, I believe the decline in traditional values requires a religious antidote. Christian nationalism may be a way to achieve both aims. There is a genuine cultural affinity between blacks and conservative Christians, aside from the kooky Pat Robertson types. Blacks have a good deal more in common with them than with the ACLU or the Jewish liberal intelligentsia. We should find ways of exploiting it. Do you still believe that?
Wow, I had forgotten I said that. And that would have been 1990 or 1990.
There's the early 90s, yeah.
And all this being what it is, you'd have still been a better VP pick than JD Vance. If it's any consolation.
Thanks a lot for that, Keaton. I really that's damning with fake praise, I'm going to say, but okay. Look, I just wanted to go on the record saying Christian nationalism to me in 1990 did not mean the same thing that I would mean by the use of those words today in 2024, Christian nationalism. A lot of water is under the bridge. Yeah, at the time, the thought was, cultural reform is the key to solving the problem of the inner city, and religion is a tool to moving in the direction of cultural reform. And you can find allies, political allies on the religious side as well as you can on the economic policy or political left-right side. And we Black Americans would be wise not to overlook the possibility of, for example, Charles Colson's Prison Fellowship Ministries, right, which I served ultimately on the board of for a few years, and which I admired even then in the early 1990s. And, they're going into prisons and they're trying to minister to the people there, and they got an affirmative view about, not over incarcerating and, second chance and third chance and things like that. And that's grounded in a Christian theology. And I'll have to say this. I mean, and again, my wife is not going to like it. I'm looking at the abortion numbers and I'm saying the outsized role that abortion is playing in life management decisions that African-American women are making, and that's not a good sign in terms of the quality of relations between men and women, which is the foundation for social reproduction, because families form out of that and children are born into that context and whatnot. And there's something that's not entirely healthy here going on. And so a culturally conservative critique of that is not necessarily the enemy of Black people. And looking at the way the political coalitions form, the relatively culturally radical elements and the African-American civil rights elements are fused together within the Democratic Party into what is a political coalition, but they don't all have the same interests. They don't all have the same problems, this kind of idea. But you asked me a direct question. Would I still affirm those beliefs? And no, I would not utter those arguments today, because they would mean something very, very different to me and to the listening audience today than they might have been understood to mean in 1992. Pat Robertson, after all, was running for the Republican, not Pat Robertson,
Pat Buchanan.
Pat Buchanan was actually a player in Republican politics in 1992. And no, I was not an advocate of Buchanan's candidacy, but I did have some more respect perhaps then than I would now for the Christian nationalist outlook that he took and that J.D. Vance reflects in his own politics.
Do you still consider yourself a Christian?
No, and I talk about that a bit in the book. I don't want to take up too much of our time on the minutiae of the book, but I went through a crisis of faith, and I came to a point where I had once believed that Jesus Christ literally was raised from the dead and literally lives on to this day as an intercessor between me and God Almighty as a way of me having a relationship with the creator of the universe as a salvation and so forth. And I came to believe that that belief was itself irrational, and I couldn't affirm it. And so I disavowed my Christian faith in the fullness of time. And I say that with trepidation because I know I'm going to get letters from people every time I say in public that I'm no longer a Christian, telling me that it's not over yet, God still loves me, and that he's there waiting for me as soon as I'm ready to come to him. And I try to talk about this in the book, about why I, a rational human being, can't believe that someone was born to a virgin. Can't believe that someone was raised from the dead. Don't ask me to believe that. I now would say, in my perhaps ultra-rationalist sensibility, but at the time when I crawled on my hands and knees into the church and was met with loving embrace and found the support that I needed to get through the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life, which was stop using cocaine. At that time, it was a salve. It was literally God reaching down into my life where I did not deserve it, and providing me succor and comfort and taking me unto himself. I believed that in 1990. I came to a point where I couldn't believe it anymore, and I'm still at that point.
Please clap.